Welcome and thank you for joining the first Air 3 Brig and Air TV LGBT Sport panel. We're going to start with some quick introductions. Rebecca, would you like to go first?
Yep, so my name is Rebecca and I'm the current Sports Union President, and I've also been part of the women's football team for the past 5 years.
Fantastic. Craig?
My name's Craig Stephen. I'm the President of the Men's Basketball Club here at Erie, and I'm in my second year.
My name is Ali. I have been part of the volleyball club, and I'm currently part of the Frisbee and trampoline clubs here at the uni.
Fantastic. We have a nice wide range of sports. It should be for a good discussion. Craig, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Craig Wright. I'm one of the heads of sport for Air 3 and one of the sports editors for Brig.
And I'm Shannon. I'm the sports editor for Brig and a contributing member of Air 3 Sports.
Highly enthusiastic contributor.
So just to kind of start things off broad, we wanted to hear about your experience as a student athlete at University of Stirling. Rebecca, would you like to kick it off?
Yep, so like I said, I joined the women's football team when I was in my first year, and I would say my experience kind of throughout the full time has been pretty positive. It's been very much a safe environment to kind of feel part of, very much a team environment as well, and it's very, there's a really big family aspect to it as well, and I think that's something I don't really take for granted, and I think it's something to be quite proud of as well, to feel part of something that has that sense of togetherness in it as well. And yeah, since I kind of came out, I think it was December 2013 when I first did, and although it was a really scary time, kind of the reaction from the girls as well was massive in terms of, oh wait a minute, this isn't actually as scary as you actually think it is. So kind of that kind of weight off your shoulders and off your chest just kind of made the full experience a lot more positive and a lot more kind of fun to be a part of, knowing that it wasn't kind of a burden on my shoulders anymore. So yeah, I'd say all in all, it's been a really great experience.
And Craig, you have a leadership position as well, right?
Yes.
On the basketball club?
Correct, I'm the president of the club. And I've loved being both just a member of the club and getting more actively involved in sort of promoting the sport and letting other people engage with it. It's been a great experience for me. It's something I'm looking to do once I graduate. So it's been being able to get that experience and experience it for myself, whilst also being a part of the family atmosphere. I think that's something that Stirling Students' Union, the sports union as well, is really great at creating, is teams that are teams that have got a togetherness.
You had a stellar bleed screen appearance earlier in the semester,
so a bit of bleed
shout out for that. Ollie, what has your experience been like?
Positive, yeah. Frisbee's one of the most inclusive sports. I think teams, for anybody and everybody, really good positive attitude just with everything. Volleyball also was really good when I was playing it, and then trampolining as well. I've really enjoyed. Haven't got a bad word to say about any of them.
You also mentioned that sort of family aspect. Just how important is that, both as a student athlete and as also an LGBT community member?
I think for me it's one of the most important things, because if you can kind of feel close to your teammates, then it's a massive sense of relief, because for a lot of people, sport is a main priority in the university, the time they spend at university. So having that kind of backbone of your team behind you, your team is basically your family whilst you're at university. For a lot of people, they move to Stirling and it's a completely new environment, but having your team kind of behind you, it's a sense of having a family away from home, and I think that's really important to try and keep that kind of togetherness there. And even if it's just within sports, individually, or whether it's kind of sports union as a whole, I think it's really important to try and emphasise that familial aspect and kind of keep that strong.
It makes sport fun at the end of the day. If you're going to do something that you enjoy with a group of people that enjoy that same thing, that similar interest sparks so many other great stories, memories, and friends for life. That's the way it is. And if you're able to create those kind of experiences for people, it's going to be a fantastic way to move forward. You've got connections for life. Like I say, you've got fantastic memories. You want to take part. You want to keep going back.
And Ollie, you've been part of both team and individual sports. Have you seen a difference in your experiences between those two?
Not in terms of people. You know, you're part of a team, whether you're doing it individually or as, you know, if you're on the court and there's more than one of you, like, or if you're just yourself, you know, you've got that foundation anyway. You've got that to fall back on. You've got support, and you know, it's still as, I don't know where I'm going with this.
Rewarding.
Yeah.
It's still a rewarding experience.
Yeah, regardless, whether it's individual sports or team sports, for sure. Yeah.
Do you guys have any athletic role models, whether in the LGBT community or just in general, people that you look up to and admire?
It's not something I've ever really had as an athletic role model. But what I think is important to note is the kind of role models that we have nowadays in sport in terms of the LGBT community. At least you're looking at the Winter Olympics just in these past 2 weeks. You're like, so your Gus Kenworthy, your Adam Rippon, the exposure that they've been getting for the LGBT community is fantastic. The likes of, it was Gus Kenworthy that kissed his boyfriend at the bottom of the ski slope. Like, they televised that. That's worldwide. That's everywhere, and that's huge. That's a really big deal, and that's something I think is important for us as a community.
Yeah, I think obviously being kind of part of football and that being your main sport, a lot of people tend to be like, oh, my idol's such and such. Like, growing up, my idol was Steven Gerrard, and I'd probably say he is still my idol. But then you see kind of some footballers that even like within the England women's national team, they're so open about their sexuality, and that again is inspiring obviously other people if they feel maybe a sense of insecurity at maybe expressing themselves or anything like that. Just having those people, like those big names, kind of just coming out in public, and if they just them expressing themselves will then allow others as well to maybe feel like it's a safe environment to do so. So I wouldn't say I look kind of to anyone in particular, but there are obviously a lot of kind of role models out there for the LGBT community in particular, and I think, like Craig said, the Olympics that are happening just now in South Korea, it's fantastic to see the amount of promotion that it's getting, and the LGBT athletes themselves, like just putting themselves out there and like them being able to express themselves is then hopefully something that's going to inspire others to do the same as well.
Anything to add? Are you good?
No, I think I'm good.
I'm just going to bring it back a little bit from sort of global sport to university focus, and we'll talk a bit more about the sort of the issues you may face as a university athlete. Had a few instances, of course, university in the past few years of the sort of lad culture debacle with the sort of. We all know where that is. I just love the snigger at the side there. You've all mentioned it's been a pretty positive experience for you guys at Stirling. But what, if anything, do you think Stirling can do to make it a little bit more of a sort of open, sort of inclusive community? I suppose it probably makes sense to come to the woman in charge first year.
Oh dear, that's a title and a half, isn't it? I think for me, I feel like the more open I can be, it's then ensuring that obviously I've got an open door policy, and it's if anyone needs to kind of just chat about anything, then they're kind of free to do so. But I think what we've done really well this year is getting the clubs who are maybe got more of a stigma behind them, more of a stereotype. For example, men's rugby. It's obviously known as being like a lads game and for the lads. But this year they have been absolutely fantastic in terms of changing club ethos and philosophy. And again, even when you want them to kind of do anything to support any kind of campaign we're running, in particular as well, LGBT, they've been absolutely fantastic. And obviously we're in Lacey's and supporting our LGBT History Month as well, and doing quite a lot of work with Scottish student sport as well, and promoting how inclusive men's rugby is here at Stirling. And I think for me that's a massive step forward, is if you can then target clubs as well that are maybe known for maybe being having a certain stigma behind them as well, and if they can then come out and show how they're inclusive and actually put in work to show why they are deemed to be inclusive now, and it's that I put a really important kind of twist on that as well. It's to show that every club within the sports union that we have here at Stirling, no matter if it's men's rugby, if it's ultimate frisbee, if it's badminton, if it's anything, that we're open and inclusive to all. And I think that maybe myself being part of the LGBT community and being so open about it has hopefully inspired and helped others to get involved in sport. And I think it's just an openness, and then every day as well is a learning day. Like, if you make a mistake about something, if you maybe use the wrong terminology, it's understanding why it's kind of deemed wrong and then learning from that and taking it on board as well. And I think if people are willing to learn and take it on board, then that's going to be a massive shift in how we can then promote inclusivity at Stirling.
You briefly mentioned the rainbow laces there as well.
Yep.
And that seems to have had a massive uptake this year as well. I just remember seeing something just the other
Insane.
day from women's hockey.
Yeah.
Has that been sort of the key initiative, do you think, of driving that sort of awareness forward?
Definitely. We've got this year it's been a new record on how many laces have actually been physically worn. So we've had 662 pairs, which is approximately a third at the sports union, kind of repping the laces, as I call it. And that again, it's a sign of solidarity as well. It's not just let's go and wear colourful bright laces to make our shoes or our helmets or caps look nice. It's got an actual meaning behind it, and if the people that are wearing the laces can explain why they're wearing them, then to me that's a huge positive, because maybe in the past you've had someone being like, oh, I'm just going to wear my rainbow laces, but if you can ask someone why you're wearing those laces and they can explain to you, then that's another positive to take out of that. But like I said, 662 pairs we've given out. We've had masses of clubs still requesting them, so I think it's maybe in our best interest to actually go and purchase some more pairs, because the uptake's been huge, and I think for me that's a huge positive to try and take forward, and something that I'm actually really proud of to try and promote.
Great, you've got your laces on, or?
Oh, always, all year round. I got given a pair last year in my first year, and they've not actually come off my laces since, pretty much. It's something that I was really keen to get actively involved with. Being president of the club, I felt like I had a bit more authority to tell people that really we should be getting involved in this. Like, there's a reason you should be wearing these laces. Like, I'm not going to force you to wear them all year round, but like, dear God, just for this month, please wear the laces. And I think what has been important for me is seeing an active engagement from all the clubs in terms of wanting to get involved with it, because it's very easy to see clubs and they think, oh, there's nobody in our club that's LGBT, part of that community, so we don't need to get involved with it. But there's a lot of teams that have kind of said, no, like, this is an important thing for us to be a part of. And to go back to one of the first questions you posed here, that active engagement is one of the best ways to kind of improve and build upon the open, inclusive environment that the sports union wants to be. If clubs are able to actively show that they want to get involved, that they want to learn, they want to show this active participation, then of course people are going to feel welcome and want to take part in that sport. Of course they are.
Ali, yourself?
I don't have the laces yet.
I'll get you up there.
Thank you very much.
So it's the whole sort of lad culture debacle. Is there anything that you can think in particular that Stirling would do to be a more inclusive or open community?
One of the things I've noticed is when people talk about, occasionally, just with like some individuals, it's almost like a taboo subject still, LGBT, for lads, like, you know, someone that has to present themselves as a very masculine, very heterosexual individual. It comes across as sort of like hush hush, like, can't, you know, we'll leave those topics. But I think I think the laces are a fantastic way to get that out in the open and discussed. Education is just the main thing that we just need to make sure everybody just knows. So, laces.
Allow people to make mistakes so that we can educate them. You don't
that
want
as
to.
well, yeah. Because if somebody does spark conversation, I'm LGBT wise, that don't know that I am, which is a lot of people, so it's just quite funny doing this. But then I find that as if someone's talking to me as a straight heterosexual man to straight heterosexual man, then like that's more of a standpoint for me to just be like, well, here's where that's not particularly all right to say, or this is what you should say, or this, that, and the next thing. I think it's quite a good standpoint to educate others in how I've been going about doing that.
Just a sort of interesting standpoint on that particular point. Would you prefer to have that conversation sort of as direct as that with somebody if they're telling to you, as you say, straight heterosexual man, and you're on about sort of educating them within the LGBT community? Would you rather have that conversation face to face, almost, if that makes any sense, or you'd have that sort of have to address it after hearing about it from behind the scenes or talking behind your back? That type?
Oh no, I'm happy to like talk face to face with people. I think we're adults now. Like, be mature about it. If it's something you don't understand, ask questions, educate yourself. There's a lot, you can learn a lot from listening, and I think that's what people maybe need to do more, and maybe not make assumptions about certain things, which is where some of the hurtful comments can come from in some cases. So face to face, if you have a question, don't be afraid to ask it, and if someone is kind of like, no, I'm not answering that just now, maybe ask me then, or that particular person isn't alright to answer that, then like there's tons of other places you can find answers.
Yeah,
the
definitely.
internet. The 21st century,
No, fair
Yeah.
enough.
I think for me, definitely at Stirling, just now, having only been in the role kind of since June, for me, Rainbow Laces was a place to start. It's obviously a topic that I'm extremely passionate about, and kind of I've been part of it's like an LGBT Rainbow Laces group through Scottish Student Sport this year. So I've obviously had the opportunity to get involved in those meetings through in Edinburgh, kind of understanding how we can try and broaden it across the full country. And obviously this year Scottish Student Sport received quite a substantial amount of funding from the government to try and actually expand the issue and teach people that people are people, and then it's getting that education and letting people understand that it's all right to make mistakes, it's all right to ask questions, it's just the right way to go about doing it as well. So obviously Rainbow Laces were part of that campaign, but a couple of universities, for example, I think it was Glasgow and Edinburgh, they've taken part in like train the trainer courses. So I kind of, a couple of months back, I think it was back in August, we did an allies course through Stonewall, and that for me, even kind of being part of the LGBT community openly, like I learnt so much through that course, a lot to do with terminology, a lot to do with just how different people identify and how it means to them, and different ways to go about asking questions, the right way to ask questions, language as well, so like homophobic and transphobic language, and ways to go about actually trying to work on that, to eradicate it from sport. So I think obviously the next step in Stirling would be to try and branch that Train the Trainer course out and deliver it to our clubs as well. It's good having people there who are able to deliver the training, but it's how they can effectively deliver it to our clubs. And if people are willing to actually, like Craig said, like actually learn, and like Ali said as well, it's ask questions in the right way. If people are willing to do that and our clubs are serious about being inclusive like they've shown this year, it's hopefully trying to implement that moving forward. But I think what we've done just now, like obviously you said lad culture was a kind of huge issue at Stirling a couple of years ago, but I think we've moved on massively from that and we've progressed, and I think that this is definitely the first step of many in ensuring that sport at Stirling is open and a fair environment for all as well, because at the end of the day sport is sport, isn't it, and anyone should be able to play it regardless. So
that's fantastic. Now going on to a global scale again, going from global to local to global again.
We like bouncing around, it's fine.
You mentioned the Olympics, and so we definitely wanted to get into that a little bit. How much of the Winter Olympics did you watch? And what impact do you think athletes like Adam Rapone and Gus Kenworthy will have on the next generation of LGBT athletes?
So I've not watched any of it. I've just completely sort of skimmed over it. I saw, I think, one highlights reel of the downward freestyle ski or something, I don't know what you call it, and there was lots of rails involved. And no, but I think even though I haven't watched the Olympics, what have I heard about? What have I seen on social media? It has been these big sort of public figures talking about their experiences, and like I said before, it's the role models aspect. It's kind of people, the more exposure that you get, the more something becomes acceptable and normal, and the more there's no bigger stage really for exposure than a worldwide competition like the Olympics. I think it's a good place to start, and I hope that it's enough to encourage people to continue the momentum of it, because it's always difficult to be the first person to get it going. But once that momentum starts, here's hoping it doesn't stop. Yeah.
I did watch a bit of the Olympics. I actually did see Gus Kenworthy's run, and a little kiss at the end. Didn't come first, didn't come second, didn't come third, didn't medal, but representations there. And as you said, it was broadcast. Like, I saw it on TV, so it's not a big deal. And that's the way it should be seen, you know. So yeah, I think we're definitely making progress.
I think on that, there is a little bit of a difference between the Summer and the Winter Olympics in that regard, because, as you say, it doesn't seem to be that anything's really been made of it. Like the whole Gus Kenworthy kiss, that was, there's a guy kissing his partner.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. And obviously the institution of Pride House in the Olympic Village as well since 2010 in Vancouver. Is there a little bit more of a sort of accepting attitude, do we think, the Winter Olympics, or is it just a bit of a...
I think, considering the 2014 Olympics in Sochi was that was a big sort of like no gays allowed sort of thing. To go from that to just being like something is just normal, to be seen as normal, that's progress, you know. So I think I can't remember what you said. Start off again. Yeah.
Anything to add, Rebecca?
I think as well what's helped in terms of showcasing improvements that have kind of been made, like Ali said, since Sochi to Pyeongchang. Sorry, obviously from the improvements that's been made from Sochi to Pyeongchang has been, for me in 4 years, pretty substantial. It's obviously been really good to see, and I think something that's helped draw the attention to the Olympics as well, that is held in the winter, because obviously it's not watched by as many as the Summer Olympics are, but it's the success of Britain as well. Obviously this year we succeeded our kind of record medal tally at the games. I think, was it 5 we finished with in total? Obviously you've got the names like Lizzie Yarnold and stuff, and I think those guys performing and doing well is then attracting more Brits as well to kind of get engaged and watch it. And then like the kiss at the end of a run as well, like it's people will be watching that, and it's getting that to not be made like a huge deal of. Like at the end of the day, it's just someone kissing their partner, and I think the amount of coverage that positive coverage that's received as well, it then gives others a sense of, oh, by the way, like things are changing, and I think that's a really positive step to see as well. And I think there is still a long way to go. There is. But I think every day there's improvements being made, and things are getting better and a lot easier as well. And I think if we just keep doing what we're doing, and I think there will be less kind of stigma behind being part of LGBT plus. And I think that I genuinely hope that one day there won't even be conversations like this having to be had, and it's just considered normal, because it should be. But I think every step that we can take to try and make that happen is something that we should obviously be open and proud that we're part of that movement.
He himself said he hadn't ever dreamed of that being televised worldwide.
You don't really think, you wouldn't think of it as an issue.
No.
It's just a part of everyday life.
Yeah.
But no, it gets caught on film, and suddenly you're all over everywhere. I think my one last point I would add on that is that I don't know if it would be as acceptable in the Summer Olympics. I don't think it would get the same reception purely because of the wider participation in the Summer Olympics of countries where it's illegal to be gay. I don't think there are as many, don't quote me on that, countries participating in the Summer Olympics, just because of the nature of the sports that are involved. I mean, so you've got a wider audience kind of watching the Summer Olympics. Do people still feel comfortable? Absolutely. Do I think they're as comfortable? Probably not, but I think that's something that's what I'd like to see in the future, is a sort of bigger exposure in terms of Summer Olympics, which is going to get a much bigger viewership as well.
Okay.
Was there not a proposal at the 2016?
Oh, maybe
Olympics?
actually.
After,
Was it not hockey?
Was it
Oh, the
hockey?
hockey.
Was it GB
Yes, the
women's
two
hockey?
hockeys,
Yeah, they got
yes.
married to each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot about
Remember
that.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Take back what I said then.
Well, yeah, but I think with your point, if that was a situation more, predominantly like masculine sports, like, I don't know, some really masculine. It's like, give me something.
Football.
Yeah. If it was men's football.
Yeah. We've got that down as the next question.
Yeah.
actually. Should we move on to that
There
just
you
now?
go.
Take it away, okay.
Right. So as you mentioned, there's the whole sort of constant discussion as to whether football is ready, as it were, for an openly gay play. We've had a couple of instances.
Whoa.
I think Thomas Hitzelsberger a few years ago, Robbie Rogers in the US. But just want to get your thoughts on whether that is a situation that we think the football watching population, or indeed the wider UK population, is ready for as a whole.
They're not an English Premier League player, maybe not Premier League, but I'm sure there's a professional player out in England just now. I can't remember his name for the life of me, but I'm sure he just came out recently. I'm sure, because I remember them saying he was the first guy since Justin Fashanu, if that's his name.
Yeah.
I would need to look that one up,
Yeah,
but
well,
I don't particularly remember. But I think it's something that wider society should be ready for, whether they want to admit it or not. I think part of being a member of the LGBT community is putting yourself out there even when there's risk, because you think about the Stonewall riots that started the whole liberation movement in America. It was black trans people that were throwing the bricks, starting the riots and getting killed, basically. So I think that if we're wanting to be sort of accepted as such an integral, normal part of wider society, you need to be out there. You need to be out and proud and living your normal life and showing everybody that there isn't anything different about us. I'm just a guy who plays football professionally, probably better than you.
Almost certainly better than me.
Yeah, exactly. Who just so happens to romantically be attracted to men. It's not a huge deal. So I think wider society be ready for it.
Rick, you sort of touched on the fact there's a few openly gay women's players before. Why do you think there's that sort of difference, as it were, between the women's game and the men's game?
My honest answer is I don't know. I don't know why it exists. For example, Casey Stoney, former England women's captain, was openly LGBT, and it's individuals like Casey, who obviously being captain of England women's team, who have like excelled at World Cups and been part of Olympic squads and things like that. It's how does that then differ from men's football? Obviously there's been talk in the past of English football isn't ready to come out as it's not a safe place for someone to come out as LGBT if they play men's football in England. Like why? And that was always my biggest question. I remember watching a documentary and just thinking the full time I was watching it is like, why are we not ready? And I think a lot of it was to do with opposing fans, and for me as well, it's just to do with like homophobic and transphobic slurs that are just kind of used in general. They get used at football matches, kind of on the reg, as I say. And it's then if someone was to come out who did play men's football, is it then being targeted, and do they feel safe? And I think the reason why like there aren't many openly gay footballers is due to fear and that they can't. I know there's obviously been talk of, you see it in the media as well, that there are gay footballers out there, but they're too scared to come out in the public and actually just expose that, like, this is who I am and this is it's who I am, and just accept that. There's just a fear and that there, and I'm hoping in the next few years that disappears and that people do kind of feel it's a safe environment to come in. But I think a lot is to do with fans, how big English football is, and not just in Britain but all across the world. It's like Premier League is the biggest football league in the full world, and I honestly think personally like football is ready. being a massive football fan. I think I've kicked a football since I could walk. And for me, obviously, having that experience in football, albeit in women's football, but just being a part of that environment and that atmosphere as well, like going to games and stuff, like I think it is ready, and I think all it needs is someone like Robbie Rogers from the MLS to just come forward and be like, this is who I am, accept me for who I am, and fair play. And time coming out, obviously it's got quite a lot of coverage and stuff as well, but hopefully that's inspired others to do the same, and fingers crossed in the next few years we'll see someone be proud and out in the Premier League.
Ali, just on that as well, just twisting the question slightly, do you think there'd be a different effect if it was a bisexual or a transsexual as opposed to an openly gay athlete, or do you think it would just be people just need to sort of accept it as I think as Craig said, like
in terms of men's football,
in either men's or women's?
Let's see. I think when you were saying it's the fans, obviously hold a lot of the general speculation on just anything such as race, even, don't think it was, obviously it was a couple of, I don't actually know how often racial slurs have been used, but there has been media coverage on that, and I think fans will use anything for the opposing team that they can to get chants going, and it is really not non-PC language most of the time, and I think they would use homophobic, biphobic, transphobic language, and I think exposure is the only thing that's going to get that, keep that down, because once you get something and make it normal, the only way you're going to make it normal is if one person comes out and more follow, then you're just going to be like, well, it is normal. Mm-hmm. And we need to just start seeing it like that. But people will use differences, and they will look at it as being inferior, and use it as a weakness. So until people's sort of just views on that stops being, that's different, that's wrong, that's different, that means they're a lesser being, then I think that's exposure is the only way we're going to move forward.
What needs to happen for progress to occur, and what can we do as a community to continue to push for that?
I think it's governing bodies as well taking a stance on it. For example, like we were just talking about men's football, it's the SFA and getting teams to come forward as well, and it's getting them to take it seriously. They can promote it as much as they want, but it's the meaning behind them promoting it. Does it actually mean as much to them as what the kind of people are perceiving it as? Like, if they can come across as being serious about an issue, then I think that's where changes might start happening as well. But it's being serious about that message, and if it can come from the top down, and again from the bottom up, it's about getting that right, getting that balance right. And I think it's got to be understood by those, like you say, with titles that are kind of bigger names in the industry. And I think if we can educate the right people and target those that need to be educated, then I think that's where some of the biggest changes are going to happen, to make the biggest amount of progress.
Anything on this side of the table?
As you said, education. Genuinely, I think people in exposure, normalising it, me personally, I don't tell people about my past, because I don't think it's relevant to people knowing me, because it's not. But if I do choose to tell somebody, it just shows that you can create a bond with this person, you can be friends with them, you can share any experiences with them, likewise with any of your other peers. It doesn't make a difference, and that's what people just need to know. Yeah.
And then I think it's been covered plenty of times, active engagement, but I think more so out with the LGBT community. The more that you can create allyship and sort of a complete sense of belonging as a society rather than us versus them, that's where you're going to create a lot of progress. you just need to make sure that everybody's on the same page and they're looking for the same outcome. I think mostly is what we're needing. We're just exposure as well. We need so much exposure. All of it.
Exposure.
All of it.
Well, thank you guys so much for being part of our panel. We really appreciate it. Any parting thoughts that you want to make sure we hit before we conclude? Anything to add?
I think mine would probably just be to target the sports union and get a little memo out there, is that no matter what club that we can have to offer, obviously we've got masses, we've got a club for everyone, whether it's from archery, American football, water polo, fencing, anything at all, we've got it to offer, and any of those clubs are more than happy to welcome anyone from the LGBT plus community. For me that's massive, but it's, don't be shy, get involved, get engaged, get active, and just, if you've got a passion for something, it's just go and do it. And we do always have an open door policy, so if you're humming and hawing over whether to get involved, it's just come and ask some questions. Don't ever be shy to ask a question, because questions are where you get answers from.
And just a little thing as well. We are quite a representative demographic of the community, but there are a lot of people not within the community at this panel tonight, sort of to have their views represented. So I'm thinking kind of like people of colour and other people within the community that might have different views on us. So this isn't the be all and end all of what is the thoughts and current going on in society. We're quite privileged, I think, in terms of our experiences and how we've been able to live our lives. There are a lot of different perspectives out there, but just wanted to kind of put that out there as a disclaimer.
Sounds good. Yeah. Well, I think that's it. Do you have anything to add?
No.
I've probably just got one more thing, is that if you're obviously thinking about being coming to Stirling, or you're already part of sport here at Stirling and you've had a negative experience and you're maybe like shying away from getting involved in sport because you feel too nervous or anxious to, and you don't feel like it's a safe place for you to get involved in, is just come and speak to us. If there's anything we can fix that we're not currently doing, is let us know, because if you don't tell us and we don't see it, then it's a lot harder to fix. But if you can come and express those kind of queries that you have, or if there's been any issues that you've kind of come across and getting involved, it's just come and let us know. More than happy to speak and discuss about it. But yeah, like Craig said, we're kind of open and inclusive, but if there has been any negative experiences, then do share, and we'll do what we can. I will personally do my utmost to ensure that you don't have another negative experience.
If you haven't already, wear the rainbow laces.
Oh yeah, if you want some more rainbow laces, give me a shout.
Yeah, there you go. That's where you get your rainbow.
I'll hit you up, don't worry.
Well, thank you guys again so much. It was great to talk to you, great to hear about your experiences, and we look forward to continuing this conversation off the mic and then throughout the rest of the school year. So thank you so much again.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.